We'll do it live. We will do it live right now. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Megan.
Hey.
Yeah, RJ. Hey,
we
Jonathan.
are live on HFPod. Jonathan, we have a few people who are going to join us momentarily, but I know that there's an HFPod happening in between tour stops tomorrow. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, because Fish was rude enough to take a Sunday off, so everybody has to miss a Sunday show. We do not have a recap to do tomorrow, so we're going to do a regular episode. But because RJ, oh wait, that's you and Megan both have other things to do involving a special event that I know, RJ, you'll tell us about here in a few minutes. Brian and I are going to get together, and we polled the populace, and received some suggestions for tomorrow's show. And we're going to be talking about a very special event, the Lemon Wheel, and why it is so criminally overlooked. And I know everybody in the chat right now is like, but we love the Lemon Wheel. Of course you do. Then why don't you talk about it more? We're going to get into it tomorrow.
Do you think anyone will be getting arrested, given that it's criminally overlooked? Or do you think it's going to be more like civil?
There have been referrals to the Justice Department, but so far no action has been taken.
They're kind of busy.
So I mean, I can only do so much.
Thank you for that. Okay, so guys, I just finished my Passion House espresso here. We love Passion House. We love coffee. And now we have our own blend called Ocean of Osiris. And we'll be drinking it all summer. And you can too. Go to passionhousecoffee.com to get some of this coffee and use the code Osiris for free shipping. Shipping on coffee is expensive. So the free shipping is actually a better deal than getting 10% off or something. So support Passion House. They're fans. They're great members of the community. But get some coffee. And we also have this contest. For every show, we're going to be giving away bags of Ocean of Osiris coffee every time Fish plays an ocean song. So every time you hear an ocean-themed song, tag OsirisPod and Passion House Coffee on Twitter and use the hashtag Ocean of Osiris. We're going to be giving 2 bags away every day. And the winners for Bangor are Stacy Klein and Darth Myers. Congrats.
Awesome.
Congrats.
Our next show, which is a show that I'll be at and Megan will be at, and probably millions of other people, at least thousands, will be the man.
Millions.
Probably not millions. That would be millions.
That'd be cool, but
it'd be very uncomfortable.
It'd be
too hot.
Super crowded. And so I guess before we get into this, Jonathan, you mentioned our special event. Megan's coming down for this tomorrow. It's tomorrow. I can't believe it. We're doing an Osiris live show at the Ardmore Music Hall. We have Tom Hamilton, Chris Forsyth, and Daniel Donato. I'll be interviewing each of them, and then they're each going to be playing some music with our backing band, which I know Jonathan is excited about this backing band. Andy Cush, Ryan Jewell, Ron Stabinski. And we're gonna interview them. They're gonna play music, and then at the end, they will play some kind of awesome jam. We did this back in December, and Mark and Aaron from the Disco Biscuits and Anthony Crizon and Charlie Hall from the War on Drugs and our backing band all played the Disco Biscuits song Home Again, which turned into this 20-minute just amazing jam. There were tears. And so I think this is going to be a special night. Tonewood Brewing, one of our great sponsors. They're based around here in New Jersey. They are going to be supporting us. And so thank you to the Ardmore Music Hall and Tonewood. Go to osirispod.com/Osiris live to get tickets. You should come out tomorrow and hang with us. All right.
Personally, very excited about both of those things. I'll be very brief, but the coffee, that free shipping deal is really good if you're like me and you go through enough coffee that you buy the big bag. You're talking about a hefty thing to send in the mail. Mm-hmm. So that's totally a great deal. And also, you guys say hi to, my friends playing that music. I really wish I could be there tomorrow night, but I made a deal that involves me going to Denver instead. So
I feel like that was worth it. Good job.
Yeah, I'm gonna live with it.
Was it with the devil?
You guys are gonna have an amazing time.
Was it with the devil? The deal?
I would never ever call my wife
the opposite. The opposite.
Okay. Amy is great. Okay.
She is.
We're gonna bring Derek and Bob. Derek, how's it going? Bob, hello.
Hey guys.
Thank you guys for joining. We're going to talk about the show, of course. Bangor, Maine. I might have said this yesterday, but I worked on a campaign up in Maine, and I lived in Brewer, which is right across the river from Bangor, for like 6 months. So I really know Bangor well, but it was I never got to see a fish show there. So I'm excited to hear what you guys thought. It's a little bit of a hike up there, and I think Bob, why don't you tell us just a little bit first? It sounds like you're in Portland, right? So you just had still a hefty drive, but you were in the same state at least.
Yeah, it's a big state, bigger than people think. But yeah, I think it's to your point. I think it's interesting that Fish keeps coming back there because it's a pretty small venue, and it's hard to book bands in Maine because you don't go through Maine to get anywhere. So you kind of go up to Maine, then back down through Boston, through Mansfield, another 5 hours to get to Philly. I assume it's just because they love the state and Fishman lives nearby, and they usually deliver pretty good shows here.
What about you, Derek? Where are you heading? Where are you heading to and from?
From Portland also. So I'm actually from northern Maine though. So Bangor is a very common spot. My brother actually lives outside there. So very frequent spot. So like Bob said, it's a little bit of a haul to get up there, but when you get to stay with family and don't have to worry about hotels or anything like that, it's pretty convenient.
That's great.
Yeah, that's so nice.
I wonder if this is like the soft kickoff for Fish's senatorial campaign, maybe.
Let's hope so.
Oh man, that's
got my vote.
There you go.
That's why I lived there, and I was working for a woman who's now the congresswoman from the 1st district, who was trying to beat Susan Collins, and this was 2002, and still nobody can beat Susan Collins. Maybe Fishman's the one.
I mean, that would be something. That would be like incredible.
Something.
It's the frustration of the state for sure.
Yeah, she would be incredibly disappointed, I think, as she always is when things happen. All right, that's enough of that.
I'd knock doors for that for sure.
You did for Piggery?
No, he would for Fish.
Oh, you would for Fish. Okay, well, you should have in 2002, although we can't go back in time. But we could have used your help. Okay, we should talk about this show. So, Bob, can you tell us a little bit about the venue? Like, it's I showed like a CAD mock-up yesterday because it seemed like they had just done some renovation. What was it like, and how was it compared to your expectations?
I've been there a few times before. It's to be frank, it's not my favorite venue in the world, but it is. It's the renovations are still very much underway. It was very much like under construction site. I had pit seats, but apparently people who did not had a hard time getting in. There's a long line. Bathroom shortage, and it's right next to a beautiful river. Like before the show, a bald eagle flew like over Shakedown, like about 40 feet overhead, and got big applause. So it's definitely, you get the main experience that way. But as venues go, it's not up to what Fish usually plays.
Derek is shaking his head for those of you listening at home. Derek, give us your input here.
Yeah, like Bob, I've been there a bunch of times. I've been there when it was just a stage and a field and a bunch of porta potties set up, and very, very, like half-assed, haphazard type of thing. And now they're actually putting in, like a foundation and to make it an actual building in there. So, but even then, like there was a lot of plaster and stuff like that. It's half finished. But, but I mean, they've been building it for like 11 years now. So who knows if it's ever going to be complete.
Wow.
And still a bathroom shortage. Amazing.
We've been doing this other show called The Live Show. Brian and I do it live 3 days a week. And one of the segments is called our bathroom break. And during these Dave Matthews shows, when we would take a bathroom break. And Brian often says that he can just stick it out the whole show. And I'm like a 5 or 6 songs in max kind of person, like I got to have good facilities around for a show. So that's kind of frustrating, but I would say that they brought it, as it were, last night. Let's jump into our first segment. We're doing segments this tour. Vibe of the show. This is brought to you by Section 119, which is your destination for nice, sophisticated, comfortable merch that allows you to express your appreciation for Fish and the Dead and other bands. We're doing a campaign with them. If you go to section119.com and check out their Grateful Dead and donut themed stuff, you can use the code summer22 for 20% off. So check out section 119. But this segment is like, what do you guys pick up from being there, kind of on the vibe of the show that we couldn't have captured from the couch? It sounds like you guys already touched on a few of the things, because it looked pretty cool on the stream. But what else about the vibe there? We have and while you guys go into that, I'm gonna welcome another guest, who's Henry, who's gonna join in a second. But Bob, do you want to go first about kind of the vibe of the venue and show?
Sure. I mean, I think one of the benefits of playing such a far-flung destination is that people are pretty like hot and ready to go. It's been my experience in Bangor just in general. I was a little surprised to log on Twitter and see that people were kind of like on the show. My phone was kind of like blowing up with friends who were there and all had a fantastic time. That's kind of always the case, but it seems more so this time. I don't know, Derek, what would you say about the vibe?
Well, it's funny you say that because my wife and I brought my uncle and one of my friends, and it was their first time ever. You know, my uncle he's in his mid-50s, has seen tons and tons and tons of shows, but mostly like hard rock, metal bands, that type of thing. And he went and he would not stop talking to me about how it was such a different vibe than any other concert he's ever been to. He was like, "Oh, this is so great. Everybody's so happy." So
that's awesome.
His report was, he loved the vibe and said he would go back in a heartbeat. So
that's amazing. It's funny because those of us who go to Fish shows and things like that a lot, when we end up at a show like a metal show or some other sort of normcore thing, we have the exact opposite sensation a lot of the times, right?
Normcore. I'm gonna attempt to bring on our third guest, Henry, who's here. Hey, Henry, can you hear us?
I hear you perfectly. It's been a great show. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Nice to see you again. Where are you, Henry?
I'm in Bar Harbor, Acadia National Park, having blueberries and fresh organic dairy products, and just have already listened to that Down with Disease 4 times to get ready, and looked over Scott Marks, Biz Archive, who runs all the Twitter information for Fishnet and stuff. His notes, I copied them and got to talk to him after the show as we were hanging out during the night to be prepared for this night. And wow, I mean, just 2 monster shows in a row. I didn't think like it was going to be better in Mansfield, and it just exceeded expectations. So I'm just still feeling the buzz.
Well, thanks for joining us. And for those of you who don't know, listening and watching, Henry's been part of this community for a long time. He worked at Greenpeace and then co-founded the touring division of Water Wheel, and has been part of this Green Crew and Water Wheel for a really long time. So thanks for all your service to the Fish community, Henry. We appreciate it.
Yeah, starting my 4th decade community service with the Fish organization. I'm just blessed that they've allowed me to be part of it and help represent all the great work that they do in the Vermont, Lake Champlain area and nationally.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let's jump into, let's talk about set 1. Maybe all 3 of you guys could give us a little bit of a sense for your highlight of the set, whether it's one song or a combo, or just your favorite moment of the set. Bob, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think for me, the one highlight was Antelope at the end. It was really well played. And I think for a show that starts at 7, when the whole first set's kind of in broad daylight, the first song that has like the lights in full, effect is always fun. Generally speaking, it was kind of like a mellow first set for me. I really liked. I'm an Ocelot fan. I like the Ocelot. Solo in that as well. But it was very different from Great Woods, I thought, where the first set was really just like fire and segues and big jams. This one was a lot more of a traditional first set.
Yeah, what about you, Henry?
Well, for me, I did hear your story about the Bald Eagle, and when the music started, I was looking over at Dickie Scotland on the side of the stage, and we kind of had eye contact and had a nice little second there. And then he started pointing out towards the crowd, and I thought it was a security issue as Free was starting, and a bald eagle also went across the tree line right there over the river as the music was starting towards Page. So like the whole thing for me just like went off on that moment, and it couldn't have been better. And, you know, Free is one of my favorite songs. I last caught it at Deer Creek, and it was awesome. And it was just a really great way to start the show. The whole thing, I agree, like Mansfield like was more the monster first set, but a little bit more of a traditional first set. Totally agree. But Antelope, which was my favorite song in '94, I thought that was their better version of it that I've heard in a long time. So that felt really good. But the whole first set was long. All the songs were jamming. We were having a great time. I was lucky enough to be second row in front of Trey. I'm sure he isn't psyched about that I'm like a guy down there lurking, but had a great spot with a great crew and great people. That's kind of how I was looking at Richard, because I know he probably wasn't psyched about it, but I did it on my own. Got the lottery location, which Fish has that lottery scene now, and that's changed up the dynamic a lot too. So I kind of bounced around among all the scenes, but it was a magical light. And I agree. Like, I know Kuroda was angry because it's no darkness for the first set, and that's not his favorite thing. And it's kind of a unique situation when you get that. So a lot of things were swirling, but the band was just coming off those Massachusetts show, and they're locked in. They're not, you know, in the pre 4.0 days before there were rules. It took a little while for them to warm up, but there's no more rules in 4.0. They can just do whatever they want. They can take any song, put it anywhere in the set list. And it's such a great time being out there. It's that feeling when I first started where it's like you have to go the next night. You just can't stop.
Yes.
And that energy is poppable.
That's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. Derek, what about you? Derek might be frozen. Jonathan, what about you?
Well, I agree that like the energy the previous night started really high. I thought this night started pretty high, and it just maintained. Like there was not even a real breather. If anything, the maybe the Ocelot jam, which bordered on being a real jam, but didn't. Like Trey was just like pushing it just a little bit outside the box, but it never fully went across the lines. And I thought that was really promising and freaking beautiful music, and set up the really excellent Reba. So that's kind of where I fall for my highlight, is that pairing.
And if I could add one thing, I never needed you like this before. I really think is one of their best jams right now. And whenever I look around and talk to people like explode. They're like, I can't believe that jam's so good. It's like, and for me from the start, that was one of my favorite songs, and people get emotional. I think like, as you look back at like this recent era, people are going to talk about that as one of their best, newer, like underrated songs.
Great tune.
Yeah.
Well, it's perfectly of the moment, right? It just like encapsulates so much of what we were all feeling so recently. I mean, that is just a really great, well written song. I thought the energy out the gate was really great. Like Free just rocked, and I never needed you like this before too. Just like, I felt like they have just a lot of energy. Like the moment they set on the stage these days, it's like, it's really palpable and exciting. And I thought the Reba was just gorgeous. Like it wasn't anything, you know, different or out of the ordinary, but it was just perfectly played and gorgeous. I imagine the sun was setting. It's just one of those like summer nights, like outside as the sun's setting, hearing like a perfect Reba. I can't imagine anything better than that. Like, that's just perfect. And then of course they go into what is one of my favorite songs that they brought back, Axla Part 2, and just rip it up. And I feel like any show that you have an Axla Part 2 and a What's the Use, it's going to be a hot show because they're feeling it. And I thought the first set was great.
And I know when you go back and like to certain areas in the country where they don't come to that often, or they're like power sources, which is the Northeast, and they play a song like Reba, that is their roots, where they're from, and people don't, you know, haven't played in the Northeast that much in the last 3-4 years. Like people are really like waiting for something like that, and you just feel it so much more with the excitement going through the crowd that you can never like feel online.
To your point about song placement, Henry, I really liked that they played Possum and No Men's like dead center in the middle of the set, as opposed to their usual to me, it seems like they usually either start or come close to the end of a set. It kind of shows that they're feeling something when they put those like right in the middle.
Keeps
Yeah,
the
I mean,
energy
Trey
moving.
used to.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does. And Trey used to do the No Man's all the time. I know, like, the Twitter universe or the online people get a little bored of that kind of stuff. For me, it's one of my favorite songs. And I'm a
Same.
fish pop cheese guy. I'm a pop rock guy. I'm an 80s generation with the kind of like repeating stuff. No Man's does it for me. I mean, I yell the lyrics. Trey's happy. He's a geeker. When he says he's like egging people to woo and stuff like that, I'm always on Trey's side. Like whatever he wants to do, I'm there. I feel his energy. I
Yes.
see it.
Yes.
I see his smiles. And if you're up there and you see that smile and you're not having a good time, you're in the wrong spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it. That's amazing. So there's no talking during Reba. That's what Aaron Lockwood said on the comment, and that is true. It should be no talking ever at shows, but especially during Reba. That's
Yes.
disgraceful.
Derek, let's hear about your first set highlight.
Yeah, sorry about that. We must have hit a dead spot or something. Like I said, my very loving and patient wife is currently driving us home right now. So, but Reba was definitely first set highlight. I mean, it's one of my favorite songs to see at a show, anyways. And last night was really, really gorgeous. And then afterwards, hearing Axilla and seeing my uncle playing air guitar to it, I was like, yes, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need.
Yes.
So,
That's awesome.
The improv, I really like the improv in Mansfield the last couple nights, but last night was just like a straightforward, we're going to play all these songs and they're going to be really well played and they're going to be sequenced in a nice way. And but yeah, it's almost always Reba for me, hearing that. So
Reba and an Antelope in the first set so that was like a 10.5-minute Antelope. I think it was good. Is Antelope back? Is Antelope back yet, or does it still have a little ways to go before we can declare it back?
Have they jammed into Have Mercy in the middle of it yet? I mean, are they?
I think there's just like certain songs of certain eras that they can never quite get that level of where they were, and that's totally fine. They can just do a monster Antelope that will just never be like where it was at one point, where it was like everything was just let out there and it was just, things to remember. But I think that was one of their best ones in a long time. And if they can keep on playing with it, but he has so much things that he can do, and he can do anything at any time. It just doesn't seem like that will be his focus. And he has all these new things that are just exploding, that's where the energy's at. And we just go where his energy goes.
And it's so true because there's so many things that he can do now that he couldn't do back then. Like he could never play a Lonely Trip the way that he does now. I think that like he's singing ballads in such a meaningful way and with so much heart and earnestness that I feel like, yeah, I agree. You've got to kind of be where Fish is to really enjoy it.
All right, so we're gonna. There's some stuff that happened in the second set, based on what I'm told. So I think we should talk about that. Does anyone else have anything to add on set one before we hop to it?
No, all right, man. Let's talk about set break.
We have to take a set break, and Jonathan and Megan and I don't know about our guests. I don't want to speak for them, but we are all gonna during set break. We're gonna sit in our seats and we're gonna smoke some Sunset Lake CBD and just kind of take it easy. Jonathan, do you want to tell us about your Sunset Lake CBD experience?
I think I can do that. So Sunset Lake CBD's line of smokable hemp products for the old deadhead, or young fish fan searching for a mellow body high.
That's me.
Smoking CBD has all the benefits of high THC cannabis without the paranoid or anxious side effects. With 9 different strains from this year's harvest, there is something for everyone. The Hawaiian Haze is awesome for an outdoor show. Cherry Abacus is best for the end of the night. And all of the flower is grown, cured, and trimmed by Sunset Lake CBD farmers. Even better, their Sunset Lake CBD's farm-to-table approach gets you great pricing on premium CBD flower by shipping directly from their farm to your door. Honestly, it is when I want to enjoy a little bit of a, get the vibe, but I really need to be present and aware and active and not spaced out. it's kind of the perfect thing. It also really satisfies that love of smoking a joint, frankly. That and so they're beautifully rolled, and they ship really fast. Really enjoy dealing with them, and you can check them out today at www.sunsetlakecbd.com. You can use our coupon code HFPod for 20% off all products. That's Sunset Lake CBD, farmer owned, Vermont grown.
Yes.
I want to take issue with Jordan Sheldon's point about not a lot of young Fish fans anymore. I have friends who took their kids. Bob took his kid, not just the other night. And then there are kids who are self-selecting fish and showing up. And I think there's a little turnover. Some of us oldies are retiring, and new kids coming to take our tickets. So
I did see. I went to see. You go ahead.
No, I've also buried a lot of these younger kids that have come on, tried really hard.
Yes.
They've had injuries. I'm going to health food stores. I'm having kale salads and organic smoothies, and I feel great. I feel just like Trey, I'm peaking, and he's coming up with so much new stuff, and I love the new music, and I've never been happier. And things have changed dramatically too when you're talking about CBD. I mean, people told me to stop on the way to the show, and they go into this place and they just buy things to use at the show. And in the old days, I was just ready to swallow stuff because I was afraid I was going to get pulled over. So the mindset's different. You're coming in with a big smile. You cross the street. The sound check's there. It's blasting through the town. People are just huffing. I mean, 4.0 is just peaking on a lot of levels. And I really appreciate those guys that stoked me out at Section 119 with my Grateful Dead hoodie before the show. And I was just feeling crisp and happy. And I just want to thank them publicly for making me look so good at these shows.
They're the best.
I think
I got one of their hoodies.
I think about 5 new dispensaries opened in Maine in the time it took you to say that.
It's so true.
Henry, you mentioned that you were looking at Scott Marks's notes and doing some prep, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but why don't you do you mind kicking us off on the second set and the Down with Disease?
Yeah, can you still see me? Because
we can't not see you, but we can hear you.
Yeah, because when I go to his notes, I guess it takes me off video.
It's all good.
I'm just looking at quick peek, and Sigma Oasis for me during COVID was the peak song. And the album, I was landscaping every day at my house and listening to the album on repeat. So You're Already There is my anthem in a way. And I love that stuff. And I can't get enough. I know people again on the Twitterverse were teasing about it, but I can't get enough of that kind of new stuff and the whole mask controversy and the politics and should he be singing it? I'm sing it loud. Yeah. Sigma Oasis is just one of my favorite openers, and it just totally got me in the mood. And Scott was sitting next to me the whole time, so I'm peeking over his notes and seeing how long the song is. And I don't know if it was 10 plus minutes or something. And then they went into my jam of the tour, one of their all-time greatest jams, this Down with Disease. And it was real rock and roll. My neck still hurts, head banging the whole time. When Fish plays rock and roll, we're ready for the next show. We're ready for the tour, and it just blasts off. And that Down with Disease is going to go down all time as one of their best 4.0 jams. I'm just so blessed to be there and actually see it live.
That's a great way to kick this. I mean, it's really incredible. Bob, why don't you pick it up and let us know some of your thoughts on this?
Sure. I mean, I'll say a lot of focus is going to be on Down with Disease, but I just thought the whole second set and encore was just top notch. I think really what you hope for with a show when you go to see a show is that it has its own really individual character and personality. And to me, that whole second set just had such strong personality. Obviously the Down with Disease is the best part. We'll probably talk a lot more about that, but that inspired them, I think, to play really one of their tightest fluff heads in a long time. Just the composed part of it sounded like 1993, basically. I don't know how he dialed back the clock there. And just coming back to the twist and kind of bookending the Sigma Oasis was just like a novel, start to finish.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
When they came back into Sigma Oasis, I got up off my sofa rise up off your sofa, people, and celebrate.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just
To
completely
spread the gospel of
blown
fish.
away. It
I
just
love
felt
how
so
you guys
right.
say that with the hands up, with the gospel. That was exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
looked
Yes.
up, my eyes are closed 90% of the time at fish shows. Like, I feel bad because I'm friends with Chris Carota, and he'll ask me, like, hey, how was the show? And I always nod and be like, oh, yeah, you're great, man. But, like, I've never seen his life.
Same.
So it's kind
Same.
of like a tease.
Yeah.
And, yeah, hands are up. It's the church of fish. I mean, wow. I mean, the twist, I was spinning for half that. I mean, going back, like you said, in the Sigma, like all that, when he does that kind of stuff, they're just so locked in. They're just so
Yeah.
happy. The smile's so big. He's back in the Northeast. This is the homeland, friends and family, the peak of the fish. I mean, that's why I raced out here and flew across the country just to be part of it.
That's
It's worth it.
amazing. That's amazing. So this Down with Disease, I mean, 30 minutes, and we talked yesterday with our guests about Mansfield Night too, about like, you know, the jam length, you know, like is that what we chase? And you know, I mean, I don't think we're all there for the 30-minute jams, but when they happen, it's pretty fucking great. You know, I mean,
I'm not
it's a
not
good way
there
to,
for 30-minute jams.
Yeah,
I just,
right.
you know, I don't go in expecting them.
But that whole set, there's no all in terms of the fishnet set list. It's all segues. There's no breaks at all. And that was a good point, Bob, about the twist. I kind of forgot about the twist, but that you know kind of helped solidify that whole thing together. Megan, what are your thoughts on that jam?
So I wrote down it was a soaring, symphonic, triumphant rock and roll journey, and it was further perfected by the absolutely delicate what's the use after. Like this is what you want when fish takes you somewhere. You want to go to places that you've never been and hear things you've never heard. And I just felt like this jam has like all of that. It's got like the synths, it's got like the organ swells, it's got the rock and roll, like you were saying, Henry, like it's got it all. And I thought it was awesome. And I just want to say for the record that Jonathan, you were watching the pod yesterday because you couldn't be on. And you wrote in the chat after we ended that they were going to play Down with Disease last night. And I said
did.
to RJ offline, I was like, you know, Jonathan called Down with Disease and you know he's going to be fucking right. And look at that. You nailed it. So just saying, Jonathan's got the calls. But yeah, I just felt, I was listening back this morning. I couldn't watch the live stream. I just felt like so grateful. I was actually like tearing up during What's the Use because we're just so lucky that we have found this music and this community, you know, that just brings us so much joy, and we can find all these moments of just like elation and bliss and peace. And it was just, I thought it was really special. And I'm so glad so many people got to be there for it.
Yeah, your eloquence on explaining it is exactly how I felt. So thank you for saying that. It's exactly what was happening, like live. And I have a friend, Casey, and she's been seeing fish since I've been seeing them in the early days. And she's from Vermont, and like the real deal. And what I really like about fish, those like local Vermont people are the people that moved to Vermont right when the band started and had families, have now been there for like 3 decades. And they still pop in for shows. They're not doing tour like everyone. They have kids and jobs and families. And now the kids have kids. It's like a whole nother mindset. But towards the end of the Down with Disease, when it really started peaking old school rock and roll, she looked at me, turned around second row center and goes, "Is this the Rolling Stones?" I mean, it was rock and roll. And she never talks at a show. I mean, you're not supposed to talk. I don't talk. None of us up front talk. We're just like grooving and dancing really hard. Maybe we have a little bit too much space. I know that's controversy, but we like the space and we like to dance hard. We like to spin. We're there like because we're just fully focused on what they're doing up there, like most people. But when she was feeling it and like the old school Vermont was feeling it, and it was rock and roll that you've never heard before, which is the best part of Fish, where they're just like, okay, we're going to jam and you've never heard this type jam. I mean, it's just an explosion.
Best.
I saw like my friend sent me like I don't know, 30 or 45 second clip of Trey soloing during Down with Disease. I don't know exactly what like segment it was from, but man, like for all this stuff online about Trey like losing a step guitar wise, I mean, there were like points where I was like, he's playing so fast and so well. It's like it's not that far off from from the old days. I thought it was, and that whole jam was like 30 minutes of just Fishman driving it, and it like never slowed down. It didn't get like spacey. I mean, it was just like a really long rock jam, which is just incredible.
And
amazing.
thanks for bringing Fishman up, because he was the peak of that on like the last third, and he was hitting harder than I've ever seen him hit, at least in the last like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years. I mean, he was two hands hammering, and I don't know if just hanging out with Billy Kreitzman recently like fired him up, but he was going off. And this whole like year, I think he's just been playing so well, and it's really exciting to see him, how happy he is, and the smiles, and how hard he's playing, and how they're all bringing it. And I grew up with Michael Jordan, and we had season tickets for his whole career. And I was seeing Jerry and Trey and Michael all at the same time there in the 90s. And you heard all those complaints about Jerry getting old and Jordan getting old. And now I'm hearing it again with Trey getting old. And sure, they don't have like the 100-mile fastball, but if you got a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and a curveball that moves like 2 feet, it's pretty cool. And I totally agree with how you see that. I mean, what do they want from this guy? I mean, all he does is play 9 hours a day.
I think,
are you not entertained?
I think part of it, the perception of his declining skills, is that he has a repertoire of like 300, 400 songs now.
Yes.
And like can't remember the middle to a
Can't be
Mockingbird
perfect
anymore.
every single
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Like, insane.
But and he prefers slower tempos, I guess, now too. But yeah, that like you said, the best part of the disease is just that the relentless, just up tempo fireball energy, which even in some of the longer jams of last year that were very good, didn't really have that. And Fishman,
Yeah, I agree with that. My complaint about the 2 nights in Mansfield was definitely not Trey's playing. It was more so, letting them let the songs breathe a little more rather than instantly trying to transition into something else. But like in like the Plasma from the first night, and there were a few other songs, he was really, really playing rapid fire, and it was really, really great. But to marry the playing, from the first 2 nights with finally a real nice long jam last night, it was outstanding. That part's about 17 or so minutes in, I think, because we re-listened this morning. When they go into it seems like things are going to be done with, and they go into like the funk part, and then it just takes off again from there. I was like pumping my fists in the car.
I thought they were going to segue into Ruby Waves a couple times, even though they just played it the other night. It sounded like that to me. But it's so nice they just push through that impulse.
And that's where they get you, and that's as good as they get. Where you're just at that mark, and you're like, okay, are they gonna ripcord it, and that was a great song, and go to the next thing, or are they gonna just go one more level, and then another level, and then it become a legendary thing? And again, you never know if that's gonna happen, and that's why we all have FOMO, and that's why we all want to go every night, and that's why like airline miles and costs start going up as it gets closer. Because we all just want to go. It's the feelings there. And then they do something like that, just like the Baker's Dozen after show 3, 4, and 5, where they're blocking the back of it. And then all of a sudden, tickets are going for $800. I mean, I don't know why people keep on questioning and keep on thinking, like, is it going to happen? I mean, when are people going to learn? This is Fish.
It happens. Yeah, it was credit to the Live Fish video producers, because they went to Fishman a lot during that jam, and they were on him at exactly the right moment. That point, I think that Derek was talking about, where it came down really quiet. Fish is just like tap, 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 and then perfectly in sync with Trey double timing. He, steps it up, and they're back at the races. And that last third of the thing was an absolute sprint. It was like breathless. Like I have seen antelopes that were laid back compared to this. This was an absolute, like, just guns blazing. I don't know, whatever metaphor you want to use. I think I sent a rocket lifting off in our Twitter text thread.
You said
because
more
it
like
was just,
up with disease,
like,
right?
that was a great tweet from Rick Silver. Credit to Rick.
Awesome.
All right. And yeah, I mean, it was just amazing. Like, they had played a great Down with Disease, and then boom for another third, another 10 more minutes. of
Yeah.
great, intense down with disease.
Longest one ever,
and-
right?
Thereabouts. I don't have
second
the numbers.
longest.
Second
Second?
longest. Yeah.
And
It's in the
Trey
top 10 long jams.
and Trey Kerr and his video crew, they're the best. I mean, Trey
Yeah.
Kerr started at the water wheel table like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And another thing water wheel gave to the scene. And the fish security, John Langenstein, grabbed him on the lot. And, you know, he's having some problems back then. And, you know, Fish totally saved him and Trey saved him. And Trey have had a lot of conversations and recovery and all the good things that the band does, like outside the music. And now he's like killing it in the video scene and making the band look so good. And it's amazing how like the lot scene comes into the band scene, comes back. We're all part of it now, and the community just keeps on growing and getting stronger.
Yeah, in fact, I'll add to my comments about the production and say they are giving us some of the front of house shots a little bit more than a couple years ago. So everybody who is wondering what the lights look like, we're actually seeing it a little bit more often, which is great because, like you, Henry, when I'm at a show, I don't see the lights.
No, me neither.
I love Chris if he watches this. Chris, you're still my favorite.
Oh, he's amazing.
He is amazing.
No question.
Everyone tells me.
Do you guys think? So I got to go. I'm going to bring this up, even though maybe I shouldn't. But I got to see the Trey play with Goose and at Radio City, and then of course a few days later he played with Billy Strings, and I haven't gotten any confirmation or feedback at all on this, but like I just wonder if he was feeling a little bit of inspiration from some of these younger musicians who are really like pushing the envelope in terms of guitar playing, like those guys in completely opposite ways. But it does seem like he maybe came away from all those kind of his like sit-in tour, you know, and having Solis also, like, I don't know, it just seems like he's inspired, but maybe he was inspired the whole time, and you know, people are just recognizing it now. What do you guys think?
Well, I think like
go
having
on.
younger acts like that coming up and telling you, you know, how much that you inspired them, and now they're achieving these things. You know, Billy and Goose have both been on a run for like, you know, the past 2 years basically, and they're still getting bigger and bigger. And to have Trey come out in general is a cool acknowledgement, but for them to then turn around and be like, you know, you're the one that's inspired us and how we've sort of got to where we are now, at least in part. So I think that's probably going to do well for your ego and be like, okay, well, you know, I still am the man. I still am on top of the mountain. So let's go.
And I think it's really interesting, and I appreciate you bringing it up, because why not bring up the elephant in the room? But those are the two main bands and people that are kind of like taking over the scene. I mean, obviously Dead & Co. like is the biggest and will always be the biggest, and that's just its own story. But, you know, Goose and Billy, that's all anything the kids talk about. That's where people are going nowadays. That's the next great thing. And I know there's been other bands that have tried to fill that spot, but there's no band that I've been following for the last 30 years that's getting the talk of these two bands. Social media plays a big part, but whatever. People find out about them. People are excited. They're growing exponentially. And Trey coming in with those people this time, I mean, there's a reason. It's all just part of the whole thing. And I don't know him well enough to say like how it fired him up or whatever, or what he's learning from them or what he takes from it. But it just keeps on rolling, and he keeps on rolling, and it's just exciting to see it all happen and manifest, and we'll see what influence it does on him.
Bob, what are your thoughts? Or Jonathan, go ahead. But I want to hear if anyone has any other thing to add.
I think probably you don't get to be as successful and renowned as he is without having a little competitive edge and spirit to yourself. And it's possible, that it's the flattery is one thing, but maybe he's just like, I still got the torch. I don't know. I mean, he's always keeping up with new music. I wish he'd play more new covers or covers of recent music, but he's always keeping up with it. And I think probably there is a little bit of just flexing.
Yeah, I mean,
I love the torch thing. So funny.
I especially liked when Billy posted the picture of himself and Fishman. He wrote #NoTorch.
Yeah, that's from Benji.
Oh, that's
got the
funny.
photo.
Yeah,
for that.
we'll credit Benji
Iceman
for that.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, I think that Trey is probably inspired by these guys. We know he's a fan of Goose. Like, let's like call that out. Like he has said that and we've heard that he listens to Goose, and I think that he probably is a little bit turned on and excited by what they're doing, but at the same time, kind of like Bob says, you know, he's not competitive. I mean, it's friendly, sure, but he is, you know, wants to flex. He still clearly feels like he's got something to do out there on the stage, and he's doing it, and cool.
Yeah, I'm here
whatever
for all the
fires him
Trey
up, I'll
flexing.
take it.
I'll
I'm
say
here for
also, he recently, in some interviews last year, he said he kind of like took a little bit of time off of practicing guitar to really hone in his vocals and work on his singing and work on his voice as his primary instrument to some extent. And maybe he has turned back to the guitar and really dialed in on that again. Just a theory.
Yeah. My theory is that Trey comes off as all love and light and meditation and all the kale and that kind of stuff, but inside he's still like this hockey guy, and he's tough, and he's East Coast, and he's ready to just like shred and dominate. And
Yes.
that's the energy I feel. And there was a great meme going around recently, just like, you know, like, please stop sending me all these things from these third tier jam bands when the greatest thing in the world's happening right now. And then how his daughter like does the picture with the torch and him laughing, and he's just kind of like making fun of the scene. I mean, I think he's having the best time of his life. I think his daughters are great. Totally. How they like tie him in to what's actually going out in the scene. And just when he was talking about the egging the woo and just saying like, I know half of you don't like it. I know half of you don't like the slow maze. I don't care. I'm having a great time. Come to our shows or not, because it's a great time.
Yeah, I do think it's great that the daughters are cluing him into what's going on, because there was a time, you know, when the band was more connected to the scene, but Trey, you know, really can't do that, and I think that's sensible to stay out of the fray. But somebody can report back to him and keep him in the loop, and that's good.
Yeah, I mean, in the old days, the only way they would know is to like stop by the water wheel table and Paige or the Greenpeace table, and people would make pins of the band. And Paige would come by and say, like, what do the pins look like? Can I get some of the merch of me? And, you know, Paige would always donate and get some merch of him. But, yeah, other than some of their friends, like, telling them what's going on, it's like, I mean, it's all right there. And he is just like, oh, it's such a fun time. I love 4.0. I can't tell you, like, what a great time.
I agree. It's so fun.
That's amazing. And thank you for all that input. Well, I think we're going to let you guys go, because you guys, Henry needs to get back to eating organic blueberries, and Derek's driving, and Bob probably has things to do also, I would assume. So
I'm going to the beach.
Okay, going to the beach. Look at that. That's
nice.
Can't say how jealous I am of Henry being in Acadia right now. That is one of my favorite places in the world. So
beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day.
Before we go, I want to just say, because we have 2 days off, which is just, I was very confused yesterday that there wasn't a Sunday show, but 2 days off, and then they come here to Philly. And like I said at the beginning, we're doing our show at the Ardmore Music Hall tomorrow night with Tom Hamilton and Daniel Donato and Chris Forsyth. Anyone who's going to be in town, come check them out. We're going to interview them. They're going to play music, and they're going to jam. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Tuesday, they come to the Man. And I don't know, I'm just curious, do you guys, anyone have anything, expectations or predictions, or just what you guys think is going to happen when Fish comes to the Man, or what the rest of the tour has in store for us?
Well, I hope they save Mull for Hartford, because that's the next show that we do. And my wife and I both love that song, one of my favorite Mike songs in quite a while. So we're hoping that they don't play it this week and save it for Hartford. So...
Henry, what do you got?
Well, you know, I'm going to have a great day today in Maine, just enjoying all the beauty of up here. And it's like the best time of the year to be here. And like, I'm so psyched that they're just giving me this opportunity right now to bring me back to the motherland and just enjoy like the most beautiful place in the country this time of the year, with clear blue skies and occasional cloud cover, perfect weather, no humidity. So I'm super excited. I know they're already down there and they're all excited. And I got a long drive to go down there, and I'm actually interviewing one of the people in the band tomorrow night in Philly about the environmental work I'm doing with World System Solutions. We're protecting the environment and have a new paradigm to saving the planet. So please check out World System Solutions if you get a chance. And the man's the hardest ticket of the tour. The kids are fired up. I thought Bethel was going to be the hardest, but it feels like it's man. People are like, you know, the energy in Philadelphia, the East Coast hardcore, they're really, really, really going to want to bring it. That hockey energy's there. The kids are waiting for them. The 2 days off just builds up the intensity. I think they're just going to come out and just really start slaying. So I'm really excited to make my way down there and then bump over to Bethel for like the old school Woodstock vibes with the Grateful Dead hippies from the 60s and anyone still around. It's really like some tours are really hard how they bounce around and, you know, that doesn't quite work because they have to do it just how the venues do it or the promoters. This, I think, lays out perfectly, and I'm super excited I jumped on it.
Awesome. What about you, Bob?
I'm not doing as interesting or important work as Henry. I'm just gonna chill. But that's amazing stuff that you're doing. For man, someone posted in the chat they were wondering about repeats. I think that was kind of a question that was on my mind as well. I assume they will just because it's such a long tour. And I assume there's going to be a Monster Tweezer somewhere in there. And like Derek, I'm going to be at Hartford, so I hope they save some of the stuff I personally like to see.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think the tweezer is up, and You Enjoy Myself. The question is, will they be on the same night or different nights?
Good questions
And
to
yeah,
have when
I
you're
think-
on tour.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think repeats
They're
are
good
on the
problems.
table, absolutely. And
I
Philly
need the
is where they'll start.
cross-eyed. I keep on missing the cross-eyed. And
Ooh.
it's my favorite song the last like 5-6 years. So I'm praying. I always do a
It
little
could
prayer
happen.
for Dark Star and Cross-eyed, just going back and forth into it. Cross-eyed, Dark Star, Cross-eyed. It's been 30 years. I can wait a little
Raleigh.
longer, but
It's time. We'll do
It's
it at Raleigh.
Raleigh. It's Raleigh, the sleeper show.
Yeah, I actually
man.
started this week. Well, I saw the Fish a couple times, but I started this week with Phil Lesh and friends. They did an incredible Dark Star here in Portland, which was a really good omen for the week and
Sweet.
for the tour. For me.
That's awesome.
beautiful, beautiful.
All right. Well, I really just appreciate you guys. Oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
No.
Okay.
You got it.
I want to say thank you to Bob and Henry and Derek. Thank you guys for joining us. This is a lot of fun. We were like, shit, we're going to have 6 or 7 people. It's going to be a lot to manage, but it was perfect. And you guys all added so much. So thank you guys all for
Thanks for
joining.
having
We
me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
thanks,
guys
y'all.
so much.
Thanks
Hope
for
to meet you all
having
in
me.
person
Thanks,
soon.
everyone.
For everyone listening, watching, we are going to be back Wednesday, right? That'll be when we're back because there's a Tuesday night show.
We'll be back for this on Wednesday, but
yes,
we
but
are
you're
doing a
gonna be
show
back
on
tomorrow.
Monday. Yeah,
And you're going to be talking
What
about a criminal matter.
a criminal matter. Yes, we will be holding hearings in reference to the possibly criminal underratedness, overlooking of Lemon Wheel. Someone in the chat mentioned that Festival 8 is quite overlooked, and you know that's true, but that's a different hearing. We'll have to cover that on another day.
We might have to do that. Okay, so I think that's everything, and we really appreciate everyone out there listening and watching and subscribing and all that. So thank you guys for helping us out and supporting us and hanging with us. And David from Section 119, save the cross-eyed for Pine Knob. I don't know. Hey David, there's just a lot of debate about cross-eyed at this point. I can't even do it. We're just gonna have to leave it there.
We'll do an episode on
I love it.
on cross-eyed and saving it for Pine Knob.
Exactly. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you all soon, and thanks for listening.